From brutal 72nd hole lip-outs to clutch must-make shots that forced playoffs, these are the most unbelievable golf finishes ever recorded. And first we start with number 15. Pressure has a way of crushing most players, but for Seve Ballesteros, it turned him into something unstoppable, a magician with a golf club. The year was 1988, the Open Championship, Royal Lytham and St. Anne's. By the time we reached the 18th green that afternoon, you could feel the electricity in the air. There was this incredible buzz. Every single person around that hole knew something special was about to happen. Nick Price had been leading. Seve Ballesteros, the magician himself, was chasing, and the tension was unbearable. Then came Seve's approach shot, and he pulled it. The ball ended up in an impossible spot, buried just under the grandstands. You could feel the air get heavy. Everybody knew this was trouble. For a moment, it looked like he'd blown it, like his open dreams were slipping away right in front of us. The marshals dropped the ropes and basically everyone is running up. It felt like a rugby scrum around that green. Then, silence. Pure, heavy silence. Everyone watching, holding their breath, waiting for Seve to try the unthinkable. And of course he did. With that magic touch that only Seve had, he clipped the most delicate chip you could imagine. The ball floated, landed softly on the green, rolled perfectly, and stopped right next to the hole. Bang. He'd saved it. It was classic Seve. And then the Seve fist pump. The celebration everyone knows. Pure genius when it mattered most. That moment, that shot, sealed his Open victory. Coming in at number 14, and the 2021 BMW Championship at Caves Valley gave us one of the wildest finishes in PGA Tour history. Patrick Cantlay and Bryson DeChambeau, tied at 27 under after 72 holes, stepped back to the 18th tee for a playoff that would stretch into a 6-hole masterpiece of drama, tension, and heartbreak. From the very first playoff hole, Bryson seemed to have the edge. He crushed his drive down the fairway and stuck his approach to a makeable birdie range, while Cantlay left himself outside 20 feet. This was Bryson's chance to close the door early, but when the moment came, his birdie attempt slipped past the hole by inches. Cantlay, cool under fire, rolled in a clutch par putt to survive. That set the tone for what followed. Hole after hole, Bryson had the advantage. Closer approaches, shorter putts, perfect drives. But each time he lined up a chance to win, the ball refused to drop. On the second playoff hole, Cantlay drained a 21-foot birdie, forcing Bryson to answer from just 7 feet. He missed. Again. Time and again, DeChambeau had putts to end it. Inside 10 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet. Each one grazing the edge but refusing to drop. His body language told the story. He paced. He looked skyward. He muttered under his breath. By the 6th playoff hole, the pressure was suffocating. Cantlay holed a 17-foot birdie putt that left Bryson with no room for error. DeChambeau, with $700,000 in extra prize money and a victory on the line, lined up his 12-footer. He struck it firm, the crowd rising as it tracked perfectly, until it cruelly slipped right past the hole. Patrick Cantlay walked away with the win and the nickname Patty Ice, while Bryson was left to wonder how a playoff he'd controlled from start to finish slipped through his fingers. Next up, number 13. Sometimes, to win, you have to walk the razor's edge, and Jordan Spieth came dangerously close to losing it all before pulling off one of the most incredible turnarounds in golf history. The 2017 Travelers Championship came down to pure drama. Jordan Spieth and Daniel Berger were locked in a playoff, and the tension was sky high. The crowd around the 18th green knew they were witnessing something that could turn legendary. Spieth's tee shot found the fairway, but his approach sailed just short of the green, landing in a greenside bunker. It looked like Berger had the upper hand. He was safely on the green with a birdie chance. Everyone assumed Spieth would need something miraculous to stay alive. Then it happened. With a wedge in hand, Spieth stared down the shot, calm but calculating. Went absolutely insane. Spieth tossed his wedge like a javelin, and his caddy, Michael Greller, stormed onto the green for an unforgettable chest bump. It was one of those moments that didn't just win a playoff, it stamped itself into golf history. Berger couldn't match the magic, and Spieth walked off with the trophy, still buzzing from one of the most electric finishes the PGA Tour has ever seen. Here we are with number 12. What's the rarest way to win a golf tournament? A long putt? A clutch birdie? No, how about ending it with something nobody saw coming? The 2010 Justin Timberlake Shriners Open playoff was already turning into a war of nerves. Jonathan Byrd, Martin Laird, and Cameron Percy were trading blows, hole after hole, with no one blinking. By the time they finished the third extra hole, darkness was closing in fast. You could barely see the flagsticks from the fairway. That's when the drama took a strange turn. The three players gathered with a rules official to talk about the fading light. Should they keep going or call it a night? Byrd, calm but almost resigned, said the now famous line, "I'll let you guys decide." In other words, if they wanted to pack it in, he wouldn't argue. But all three agreed to roll the dice and take one more shot, literally. They marched to the par 3 17th for the fourth extra hole, and the tension was suffocating. This playoff needed a hero. Then, out of nowhere, the impossible happened. Byrd pulled a 6-iron, swung, and hit the shot of his life. The ball soared into the twilight, tracking the flag the entire way. It landed softly, took 2 skips, and then disappeared. A walk-off, hole-in-one. Game over. For a split second, nobody knew how to react. Byrd himself looked as shocked as anyone, as if he couldn't believe what he'd just done. Laird and Percy just stood there, shaking their heads. How do you even compete with that? The playoff didn't end with a nervy putt, but with one of the rarest and most dramatic shots in golf, a hole-in-one to win it all. Next, number 11. The Blue Monster at Doral was alive with electricity that Sunday in 2005. Fans lined the fairways knowing they were about to witness something special. Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, golf's fiercest rivals, locked in a final round duel for the Ford Championship. The tension was thick and every shot felt like it could tilt the balance. Phil started the day with the lead, playing steady, confident golf, but Tiger was relentless. On the par 5 12th, he ripped a 3-wood from nearly 290 yards that found the heart of the green. 2 putts later, he made birdie and the momentum started to shift. Mickelson, though, didn't flinch. He answered back with birdies of his own, refusing to let Tiger run away with it. The back 9 turned into a shot-for-shot showdown, Phil draining putts with that silky stroke, Tiger responding with booming drives and fearless irons. Then came the par 4 17th. With the pressure at boiling point, Tiger faced a long birdie putt from nearly 30 feet. He stood over the ball, gave it that signature stroke, and the crowd held its breath. The ball tracked the hole, curled at the last second, and dropped. Tiger gave a fierce fist pump. That was the blow that put him one shot ahead. But Phil wasn't done. On the 18th, he had one last chance, a delicate chip from just off the green. The ball rolled toward the hole, the crowd gasping louder with each rotation, but it lipped out. Inches. That close to forcing a playoff. Tiger, with ice in his veins, tapped in his par to win by 1 stroke at 24 under par. The crowd erupted, knowing they had just watched 2 giants of the game push each other to the absolute limit. Sliding into number 10. The 2012 John Deere Classic came down to a dramatic duel between Zach Johnson and Troy Madison. Johnson was already in the scoring tent at -20, seemingly in control of the tournament. But out on the course, Troy Madison wasn't done yet. He was just 1 shot back, with 2 holes left to at least force a tie. Then came the par 5 17th. Madison's approach wasn't bad, but it left him staring at an eagle putt from way downtown. One of those putts you just hope to lag close. And then, boom. Madison drained it. The crowd exploded as the ball dropped, tying him with Johnson at 20 under. Suddenly, we had a playoff on the horizon. Madison calmly made par on the 18th to secure his spot, and the tension shot through the roof. The playoff started on the 18th, and Johnson's tee shot immediately brought drama. It landed in the fairway bunker. The crowd held its breath as he stepped in, knowing this was no routine shot. Then came the swing. Johnson flushed his approach out of the sand and the ball soared toward the green. It landed just off the surface, took a sharp kick left, and started rolling, closer until it stopped just inches from the hole. The gallery around the green went crazy. Madison couldn't match the magic, and Zach Johnson tapped in to claim the victory. It was a finish packed with drama, a long bomb eagle to force extra holes, only to be answered by one of the most clutch approaches of Johnson's career. Next up, number 9. Some finishes feel scripted, but this one? Nobody saw it coming. Wyndham Clark wasn't just chasing Scottie Scheffler at the 2024 Players' Championship. He was way behind, 3 shots back with only 3 holes left. With so little time left, the idea of catching the world's best player felt impossible. The win was supposed to belong to Scheffler, who had already posted 20 under and was watching from the scoring tent, seemingly in control. But then Clark flipped the script. It started at the par 5 16th. His approach shot was pure, landing just 4 feet from the hole. Birdie. He moved to 18 under, and suddenly the crowd began to stir. Could he? No, surely not. Then came the infamous island green on 17, the hole that decides champions. Clark's tee shot was nothing short of perfect, sticking it 3 feet from the flag. Another birdie. Now 19 under, just 1 shot back. In the blink of an eye, Clark had turned the impossible into a real threat. And then it all came down to 18, 1 hole, 1 birdie needed to force a playoff. His approach was solid, leaving him with a very makeable putt. Not easy, but absolutely doable. Clark crouched, read the line, and rolled it with perfect pace. The crowd rose to its feet. It looked in until it wasn't. The ball lipped out in agonizing slow motion, spinning around the world before staying out. A collective gasp went up around the green. Clark just stood there, staring in disbelief. He stayed at 19 under. Scottie Scheffler, watching from the tent, was suddenly champion. It was one of the most brutal finishes you could imagine, the kind of lip-out that sticks in your memory forever. Coming in at number 8, the 2024 Travelers Championship wasn't just a tournament. It turned into a showdown between 2 of the closest friends on the PGA Tour, Scottie Scheffler and Tom Kim. The storyline couldn't have been scripted any better. Scheffler had posted a solid number, sitting in the clubhouse with the lead. But Tom Kim wasn't done. Walking up to the final hole, Kim knew exactly what he needed, a birdie to force a playoff. His approach shot from the fairway was pure perfection. The ball soared through the air, landed softly, and spun to within just a couple of feet of the cup. The crowd around 18 erupted. Kim, calm but fiery inside, stepped up and drained the birdie putt like it was nothing. He and Scheffler, 2 best friends who often practice together and share laughs off the course, were suddenly locked in a high-stakes playoff for the title. The playoff was on. Back on the 18th tee, Scheffler and Kim faced off. Both split the fairway, both found the green, but it was Scheffler who delivered when it mattered most. With the poise of a world number 1, he rolled in the decisive birdie putt to take the victory. Here we are at number 7. The 2023 RBC Canadian Open wasn't just a tournament. It turned into a storybook ending for a nation that had been waiting nearly 70 years for one of its own to win. And it came down to Nick Taylor, standing on the 18th green in a playoff with Tommy Fleetwood, staring at a putt that looked almost impossible. The drama had been building all afternoon. Fleetwood, steady as ever, had clawed his way into the lead late in the final round. But Taylor, fueled by the energy of the home crowd, matched him blow for blow, carding a brilliant 66 to force sudden death. The playoff began like a chess match. On the first extra hole, both players birdied. On the next 2, neither gave an inch. Pars all around, the tension rising with every shot. Then they returned to the 18th tee for the 4th playoff hole, the moment that would define Taylor's career. Taylor's 3rd shot on the par 5 left him a staggering 72 feet from the hole. Fleetwood, safely on the green, looked like the favorite to steal it. The crowd hushed as Taylor walked up to his ball, crouched low, and studied the line. This was a putt you lag close, not make. But Nick Taylor had other ideas. He struck it perfectly. The ball rolled and rolled, tracking the cup the whole way. The crowd started to rise, the murmur growing louder with every inch. Then, as if in slow motion, it dropped dead center into the hole. The green exploded. Taylor threw his putter high into the air, and the roar from the fans was deafening. After 69 years, a Canadian had finally won the RBC Canadian Open, and he did it with a putt that will be remembered forever. Coming in at number 6, pressure doesn't just test champions, it defines them. And in 2000 at Valhalla Golf Club, Tiger Woods and Bob May gave us one of the most intense duels the game has ever seen. Tiger was at the peak of his powers, already owning the US Open and the Open Championship that summer. Most people thought this PGA Championship would be just another Tiger show. But Bob May, the underdog, wasn't buying it. Hole after hole, on that Sunday he stared down the world's number 1 and answered every punch with one of his own. By the time they reached the 72nd hole, the tension was unbearable. Both stood tied at 18 under. Tiger needed a birdie to stay alive, and with the weight of the moment pressing down on him, he rolled it in with ice-cold precision. Playoff time. The playoff was 3 holes, aggregate score, and Tiger wasted no time. On the very first hole, he struck an iron so pure it felt like time stopped, leaving himself a makeable birdie. And then came that moment. Tiger's famous walk-it-in fist pump. He didn't even wait for the ball to drop before celebrating. May fought like a warrior to the end, but Tiger never flinched. He closed out the playoff, lifting his third major of the year in front of a crowd that knew they'd just witnessed one of the greatest head-to-head battles in history. Sliding into our top 5. Pressure can break even the best players, but at Olympia Fields in 2020, Jon Rahm and Dustin Johnson were built for it. The BMW Championship turned into a two-man slugfest on a course that was chewing up everyone else, except for Jon Rahm and Dustin Johnson. By Sunday, it felt like these two were the only ones capable of taming it, and it all came down to the final green. Dustin Johnson, trailing by 1 as he approached the 18th green in regulation, needed a birdie to tie Rahm and force a playoff. From nearly 43 feet away, DJ rolled in an impossible, snaking putt across the green, sending the crowd and Rahm into disbelief. Just like that, we had a playoff. But Rahm wasn't shaken. On the first playoff hole, he faced his own magic moment, a 66-foot curling birdie putt on the 18th green. It was one of those just-get-it-close putts, but Rahm read it perfectly. The ball crept up the slope, turned toward the hole, and dropped dead center. Game over. Rahm's fist pump said it all. This was one of the clutchest finishes of his career, and one of the most iconic duels we've seen in modern golf. Dustin's bomb to tie, followed by Rahm's miracle putt to win. It felt like golf's version of trading haymakers. Now at number 4. Some tournaments are remembered for the winner. This one, it's remembered for the fight. The Century 2000 in Kapalua turned into a clash of giants. Tiger Woods, the world's undisputed number 1, and Ernie Els, the Big Easy who wasn't about to back down. They were tied for the lead at 14 under par, and the stage was set for one of the most dramatic finishes Kapalua has ever seen. On the 72nd hole, Tiger reached for his 3-wood and unleashed an approach shot so pure it seemed to freeze the crowd mid-breath. The ball landed on the green, rolled perfectly, and stopped just a couple of feet from the hole. A guaranteed eagle look, but Ernie wasn't backing down. His approach landed at the front edge of the green, took a huge roll, and somehow ended up even closer to the cup. We talked about Tiger's shot, but this one? Even better. Suddenly, all the pressure was on Tiger. But this was Tiger in his prime. He drained his eagle putt with authority, forcing Els to make his own eagle just to stay alive. And Ernie delivered. Playoff time. The playoff started back on the 18th. Both players split the fairway, both stuck their approaches tight. Tiger rolled in a birdie, but Els matched it, and the duel continued. On the second playoff hole, the tension reached its peak. Both men had long, curling putts from almost the same spot. Tiger went first, and nailed it. A birdie bomb that sent the crowd into a frenzy. Els had to answer, but his putt came up just short. You've made it to our top 3. We fast forward to 2022 for an absolute heartbreaker at the PGA Championship. Justin Thomas, Mito Pereira, and Will Zalatoris give us drama that nobody saw coming. Mito Pereira, this 27-year-old from Chile who most fans had never heard of, is one hole away from making history. He's leading a major championship on Sunday, living every golfer's dream. All he needs is a par on 18, and he's a major champion. Then we witness one of those moments that reminds you how cruel golf can be. His tee shot on 18, it's not even close. The ball finds the water, and you can literally see his dream dissolving in real time. The crowd goes silent. It's gut-wrenching to watch. Meanwhile, Justin Thomas and Will Zalatoris are heading to a 3-hole playoff. JT's already made up a 7-shot deficit, which hadn't been done in a PGA championship since 1978. The playoff is pure adrenaline. They both birdie the 13th hole, matching haymakers. But then Thomas does something absolutely outrageous. He drives the green on the 17th. In a playoff, the ball barely clears the water, and the crowd absolutely erupts. Zalatoris, who's played his heart out all day, can only watch as Thomas 2-putts for birdie. A par on 18 seals it, and JT's got his second PGA championship. And poor Mito? He's left to wonder what might have been. 3 players, 3 completely different stories, all playing out in the span of an hour. That's what makes golf so special. You never know who's going to be the hero and who's going to be the heartbreak. For number 2, we've got a playoff that delivered one of the most iconic shots in golf history. The day started with fireworks when Lewis made a jaw-dropping albatross on the par 5 second hole, just the 4th in Masters history. A 260-yard approach shot that finds the cup? This has got to be my day, right? Well, Bubba Watson had other plans. The two finished tied at 10 under, heading into a playoff that promised high drama. The first hole? Nothing special. both made par. Then came the par 4 10th, and things got downright chaotic. Both players sprayed their drives into the trees, leaving everyone thinking this playoff could drag on. But then, Bubba Watson pulls off what might be the craziest shot in Masters history. He's deep in the pine straw with trees blocking his view of the green. What does he do? Armed with a wedge, he hooked the ball nearly 40 yards around the trees, the ball soaring through the air before landing softly on the green, like it had GPS. 2 putts later, and Bubba Watson is crying his eyes out, wearing a green jacket. And finally, number 1. This one actually starts with 3 players in the mix: Seve Ballesteros, Norman, and Mize. But Seve bows out after the first playoff hole, leaving the stage set for a dramatic duel between Norman and Mize. Then comes the moment that would haunt Norman for years. Now, let's set the scene. It's the second playoff hole, the par 4 11th at Augusta's Amen Corner. Norman is in prime position, safely on the green with a putt for birdie. Meanwhile, Mize, he's 140 feet away from the pin, sitting in a scruffy patch of fairway with an awkward lie. But then, Mize pulls off the unthinkable. He takes his wedge, strikes it clean, and the ball starts rolling. A perfect line straight toward the hole. And then, it drops him dead center. Larry Mize just chipped in for the win. Unbelievable. The crowd explodes into chaos. Norman's standing there in shock, and just like that, a local Augusta boy becomes Masters champion.